Hey,
Hey Lauren, how are you?
great. How's your Saturday going?
It's wonderful. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. This is a treat for Saturday. So yeah, it's going great. How about yours?
It's been really good. Thank you so much for your patience while we're dealing with little technical difficulties.
Ooh,
And,
Well,
and for you joining right now, I'm super
mhm.
excited to have the founder of Boom here on our live. And so, when did you found Crescent Womb and what was the catalyst for that? And then I'll let you describe a little bit more about the gap in industry that you've solved.
Yeah, so I cut off for just a second there, but I think I heard basis of the question. I originally developed Crescent Womb for my daughter Stella out of concerns for her safety. As a new father, I opened my eyes to a lot of the risks that our little ones face. And I knew there had to be a better way, and that was really the genesis of the product idea. Um, the World Health Organization states that 3 million of all the infants who die each year could be saved with low tech, low cost care. So that kind of opened my eyes up to a global issue in infant care and a disparity therein with accessible and scalable solutions. So our mission kind of grew to want to solve this problem. With that, we've been able to
Yeah.
help over 15,000 families sleep better through the night. And along that journey, we've actually uncovered additional use cases for our technology. Another big thing that we're trying to face or solve now is the issue of flathead syndrome or plagiocephaly, which
Okay.
affects 47% of infants per year in the United States. And it's actually seen a 600% increase in occurrence since 1992. And despite all of that, there's no real preventative solution available to consumers.
Mhm.
And it's a major problem that needs to be solved, and another initiative of ours here at Crescent Womb.
Well, I'm really excited about, what you've essentially started. I don't even think it was like an intention to become like this huge infant care innovation, but I just want to back it up a little bit because
Mhm.
I'm really excited to have a dad founder on. Like it sounds like were living a problem with Stella. And can you talk to me a little bit about the pain points you were having with current bedding? Like, were you and your partner trying co-sleeping? Were you guys simply waking up quite
Mhm.
often out of anxiety of her flipping over and suffocating? Or like, what really was that aha moment for you to create Crescent Womb? And then tell us exactly what it is.
No, absolutely. And I'm really glad you asked, Lauren. A lot of my awareness and kind of search for a solution started happening leading up to Stella's birth, because in these classes and stuff like that, they really dive deep on hazards and what to avoid and how to act, etc. And it really seemed that there was no time Stella would be safe unless she was literally in my arms, like, and I'm wide awake holding her. And that aha moment for me was, there's a safe way that we can provide this type of comfort without sacrificing any safety. That would be a huge tool to
Yeah.
parents like myself who, are, lack of sleep, new baby. It's just so much transition there that, this was really developed to just mimic that feeling of being held and help transition and help ease that transition, excuse me, from womb to world. And another thing I'm glad you mentioned was co-sleeping, which is another thing that you learn about a lot leading up to pregnancy and thereafter. And,
Mhm.
statistically, it is the leading cause of sleep mortality. And
Mhm.
yet, over 60% of families, co-sleep, and many do safely. But statistically speaking, it's something that's advised against, and the medical community strongly advises against this. And why they say, hey, never do this, never co-sleep, never bed share. Um, I think that there's a lack of consideration for times when an infant's been crying for 6, 7, 8 hours. The caregiver is exhausted, and there is that kind of inclination or instinctive risk of holding your baby, maybe laying down, maybe falling asleep. And
Mhm.
that's kind of when those tragedies occur. So we, wanted to really just provide a choice to parents, a safe alternative to co-sleeping, a way to really hold your baby and give that feeling of being held without sacrificing any safety.
I think you really, wrapped up like the value proposition so well in that sentence, like a smooth transition from womb to world. And so
Absolutely.
you were saying, you were maybe like exhausted, struggling to like get Stella to sleep through the night.
Hmm.
And so have you seen like better sleeping in general for her? Or maybe she was a little bit older when Crescent Womb was actually developed. So tell us a little bit about like your use cases and if babies feel more comfortable in this. Because essentially it's the way I would describe it is it's like a hammock,
Hmm.
right? That can clip into the crib, and it really does cradle them in a much more secure. It's like weighted blanket, but for babies, like the reverse. Like it gives you
Yeah.
that like feel held.
Certainly. And yeah, baby hammocks are something that that's debated among consumers around safety, but the medical community and the AAP actually advise against the use of any type of baby hammock. Crescent
Okay.
Womb is, we have a patented utility. We're actually the first ever infant safety bed,
Mhm.
which is just in design fundamentally unique and kind of unique in function and unique of design. So, but yeah, our infant safety bed does support infants in the way that you were describing. It really creates kind of a natural swaddle around them. So yeah,
Mhm.
like you said, it gives them that weighted blanket, if you will, but that swaddle effect, that comforting feeling that they're familiar with, and that kind of is replicated when being held by mom or dad.
Perfect. Okay. And just to clarify for all
Hmm.
of our listeners, essentially the difference between Crescent Womb and an infant is this technology that doesn't allow them to be totally enveloped and like flip over and suffocate.
Exactly. So one of the fundamental differences of our infant safety bed is that there is that inner layer that has elasticity and is totally breathable, as you see right through it, and then the outer layer is a rigid material and fashions exactly or functions exactly as you described, creating kind of that outside barrier that still maintains a safe sleep surface for infants while providing kind of that support and feeling of being held on the sides of the baby.
Gotcha. Okay. And I would love to just hear a little bit about, the founder journey. Tell me about like the first one that you've made and saw work, and like what are some of
Mhm.
that back from users? And yeah, like does it help the baby rest through the night?
Absolutely. Well, the first one I ever used was with my daughter Stella. She's 6 or just turned 7 actually this past week. So it's been a
Oh,
little while since that original embodiment. But I mean, that was the original the plan, right? I just designed it for her. And it was very effective. Friends saw it and want some for their children. And then when I started to see that work and that positive feedback and parents saying, "Oh my gosh, the peace of mind it offers me," whether they had a tummy sleeper who was rolling over into blankets or uh, an infant that wasn't sleeping much, getting that feedback of it's helping them sleep through the night, it's helping regulate their schedule and really kind of ease that transition, as I said earlier, was extremely rewarding. And from there, we launched on Kickstarter, where we were able to get um, about 1,000 backers to pre-order our product and help support our launch. So that was a really, really cool moment to see that amount of support and kind of widespread use and acknowledgement.
yeah, and it's so awesome to have you on because actually before I got to meet you, I was starting the natural nipple, and I was probably about a year,
Yes,
maybe two. And I remember hearing, because you're also from Clearwater, Florida, 727.
yes, local, absolutely.
Hearing about founder that was, launching this infant safety bed and how successful they were on Kickstarter. And so I just am so excited for you because when you do have, that testimonial and when you really do
Hmm.
change the way that parenting is done and find a way to make it easier, like it's just beautiful to see it take off organically. And
Right.
can you tell us a little bit, what was your greatest hurdle when
Hmm.
developing so over the past 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, something that parallels between natural nipple and crescent womb and are that, hey, these are very real problems that we're solving. And I think that just in terms of like organic growth and really being able to touch customers and kind of have this grassroots journey, I think that's one of the most important things is that, hey, are we solving a problem that, really matters to people and is important to people? And,
Mhm.
I think that parallel between our companies is, a really beautiful thing and has definitely helped propel some of our success. Um, but one of the largest hurdles to answer your question was we actually had a very big counterfeit issue shortly after our launch, despite our patent. So we saw
Yeah,
Amazon and other marketplaces really flood with counterfeit versions of our patented infant safety bed. And, that was a stressful time because not only were we just a launched company and kind of had a brand direction and working on sales and revenue growth, it was a safety issue that we needed to address because these were counterfeit goods that were circumventing compliance testing and other safety standards that Crescent Womb, the official product, adheres to and complies with. So it was kind of a two-folded hurdle there of, hey, we need to spread awareness, make people know that they're getting or help people find the authentic thing and make sure they're getting the proper product. And also, addressing that from kind of a legal and business standpoint. So that was a big hurdle early on and kind of one of those unforeseen things, right? Which happens so much in an early stage business. But you kind of have to be ready for that. And even, dealing with those counterfeit battles actually helped us kind of open our eyes and look in other places and uncover alternative use cases for our technology. So it's, one of those things that you just have to make, lemonade out of lemons and find the best path forward. And again, I think it goes back to really always staying true to solving very real world problems. And that
right.
kind of, if that's your North Star, I think you can make it through a lot of challenges that most companies probably couldn't.
Yeah, and seriously, James, that is a enormous hurdle that I think a lot of startups don't have the fortune or like maybe the resilience to overcome. And
Hmm.
whatever that perfect combination you. Once again, I'm so proud, to see you have have actually conquered that because a lot of companies that can do knockoffs,
Hmm.
unfortunately, they usually have a huge know that startups don't have
Hmm.
like a ton of money to throw in. So the fact that you also like almost it sounds like hindsight. It was a blessing in disguise because you said like you found alternative use cases such as with infant flat syndrome, and
Correct.
then you're also able to collect real, tangible, objective data in terms of, okay, this is, the percentage of infants every year. And can you name that percentage for us for flathead syndrome?
Absolutely. So there's 47% are diagnosed. So at 4.2 million births per year, that's slightly over 2 million, and I'm sure numerous groups go undiagnosed as well. So extremely widespread there.
And then for all of our listeners who have not heard of flathead syndrome, so it's like 2 million babies a year. Is that globally?
That these are just metrics for the United States, actually. I
Oh
know
my
that's
God.
extremely surprising, but that's why it's so something that we're so keen on tackling and really kind of are because the issue is so large and widespread and under talked about. And the
Yeah.
crazy thing is, if something affects that much of the population, and the only corrective measure, not even preventive measure, but corrective measure is a corrective helmet that costs over $2,000 for patients to even receive that treatment. And there's obviously something very wrong there that needs to be addressed, and that's why we're focusing on that problem.
Yeah, and I love just like, as a nurse practitioner with also a research background, I
Hmm.
love that looking at the most holistic, affordable, accessible, and preventative treatment for that because I can only imagine how scary that would be. As a new parent, all of a sudden you're like, is this going to be covered by insurance? Having a child is not an
Uh,
affordable place for most
yeah,
people. So then
exactly.
having to wear this helmet and you hope that all of their fontanelles, like the bones that are
Yes.
constantly brain, like us as human mammals are incredibly sensitive, right? So like we need to have our brain protected like essentially the first 2 years of life, and that can be a really scary time. And I like that Crescent Womb is addressing this in a way that you don't have to end up with your child wearing a helmet that you may not be able to afford and afraid to see if
Hmm.
everything will go back to normal and if their bones will essentially properly protect their brain.
Exactly. And you know what's even more dire at this point is that, you've brought up a really great point here is that, there's been now recent clinical studies in published journals clearly connecting patients with flathead to higher risk of developmental delays and cognitive issues down the line.
Absolutely.
So, that aside from the fact that over $500 million is spent every year in the United States to correct flathead, the fact that now there's proven medical or scientific evidence proving this connection to developmental risks, prevention is just absolutely paramount at this point because no infant deserves to be put in a place of disadvantage.
Absolutely. And you're solving not only, a problem that 2 million American children are actually diagnosed with and face
Hmm.
that can really result in cognitive function, neurodevelopmental delays, and what that means for our members of the audience that are joining now is often diagnosed as ADHD later on in life.
Hmm.
And so we're James is talking about a better infant safety bed that can really prevent that for parents early on. And not only that, just give you that peace of mind because like you said, you're kind of bombarded with all of this information as you're,
Hmm.
preparing for birth or you have just learned that you're pregnant and expecting. And you're like, okay, but like what's the best thing for me to do? You're being told don't co-sleep.
Right.
So it's a scary thing that can happen. And I love that you've made something that is accessible. So, where can parents actually find Crescent Womb now that we've been talking about it for a little bit?
Absolutely. You can find our product on our website, but more than that, we have a ton of information there and awareness around safe sleep. One of our main focuses is to provide parents with the education and awareness aspect. That truly is what saves lives, what drives change is making people aware, and then providing tools to help them, execute on those practices. But yeah, Crescent Womb Infant Safety Bed is available at www.crescentwomb.com. And again, a lot of information on there. We have a safe sleep brochure available for download. And then we'll be starting to publish some additional information on this flathead situation and some of the studies and stuff, kind of showing the additional risks and stuff just to help parents, learn more about that problem and the solution that we're working to bring to you guys. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everybody here, so we'll transform this into a
Hmm.
podcast. We send out the link to the blog as well, which will give all of our audience access to a promo code. So you've been so generous to provide one for $25 off a Crescent Womb. And I'm really
Absolutely.
excited as well, James, because a lot of our audience of about for the newsletter are clinicians. So like
Hmm.
neonatal nurses and midwives, and giving them something like I know in primary care, if I can find a tool that helps with my patient's mental health or whatever it is they're struggling with, I feel so much better as a
Hmm.
clinician because I have empowered with something that
Right.
they can utilize that is really no or low cost. And that's something that you're also doing for clinicians. So I'm excited to get this resource, into their hands so they can truly help, the health of the next generation and the families that they serve. And I just love how we're very synergistic. I think most people who have listened know that the natural nipple is designed for seamless, stress-free bottle to breast continuity. Because a
Yes.
lot of new parents, and I'm actually not a mom myself, James, but I just worked with so many that I saw struggling.
Yes.
So if we can make a way to nourish your baby with breast milk because it's revolutionary. It's like the first live vaccine. If we can make that easier for longer, according to the
Hmm.
World Health Organization goal of 6 months, make that transition back and forth seamless if you
Yes.
want to feed as a father in the middle of the night, or if you just introduce a bottle in the hospital, which we see often happens. Um, we're just trying to make that transition better, and thankfully we have 100% reduction in latching frustration for our users as well as colic. And we just launched pre-orders on Mother's Day. So I would
Amazing.
love, yeah, I'm so happy. So I'd love to, code for your users as well. If this goes out in your newsletter, they'll also
Absolutely.
get 25% off. And if you guys who are listening now want to know how to get a hold of the newsletter where you're going to get your $25 off a Crescent Womb code, go to thenaturalnipple.com and there's a little pop up. Just put your email there. In 2 weeks, we'll send this out. And keep your eyes out on our Instagram because we're going to do a giveaway actually for one of
Amazing.
our lucky parents. And is there anything, James, that you want to just like pepper in that you didn't have an opportunity to touch on before we end our live today?
Yeah, we spent so much time on me and Crescent Womb. One of the things that I was keen to ask about is the campaign, the COVID Support for Breastfeeding Women campaign that you guys are running now.
Yeah, so I'm super excited because alongside pre-orders,
Yes.
every $50 that's donated is actually covering a telehealth visit for a new family. And so this is really a unique model of providing healthcare with a bottle. I think, and you tell me from your experience, but when you come home, it's like you've been bombarded with information in labor and delivery, and you're like, okay, what now? Like there's this new
Right.
human. And so, if you are struggling with latching frustration, why our telehealth services are different is you actually are getting triaged by a primary care provider. And so, what
Hmm.
that means is a holistic intake form you're going to fill out. And the purpose for that is it takes about 25 minutes or so, but we want to make sure that, your perceived milk supply deficiency, for instance, isn't actually uncontrolled diabetes that's affecting your ability to create milk. And
Hmm.
so this way, really getting to the root of the problem, but also just giving you, if it's getting that latch, we've had parents who we've sat with and coached for an hour until they finally got their infant to feed. And it was kind of groundbreaking because they were afraid to go into the ER at this time. And they
Hmm.
were like, position where it's like, do I go put my baby on an IV because they haven't fed for 24 hours, or do I switch over to formula? And so being able to have that interventional experience right at your fingertips, literally, here's your phone, I'm with you in your home, one of our other primary care providers is with you, helping you. That is what these donations are going to, making that free for families until the end of this year.
That's amazing. I think, yeah, I mean, accessibility is absolutely key, and that's just another parallel there. awareness and time spent on education there. Not making sure parents don't just have the tools, but also the knowledge and awareness and peace of mind to feel comfortable doing these things. So great work you guys are doing there. Awesome stuff.
Oh, thank you so much, James. I appreciate it. And um, yeah, I'm just super excited to see, you scaling, growing, overcoming some serious hurdles that many founders don't. What's next for you? Is there anything else that you want to make our audience aware of before we hop off?
So, no, absolutely. Stay tuned to our social channels and definitely sign up for our blog. We're starting a series, kind of a PSA on Flathead and some of the new evidence around that, some of the kind of newest identified risks of cognitive delays, etc. How to kind of be aware of that, avoid that, and just all around kind of information on this under talked about issue. And we'll be including some updates there on our internal clinical research as well. So, a lot of stuff coming that way, and we'll have, that solution available to families, in the next month or two.
Perfect. Well, I'm really excited to get this giveaway into the hands of one of our listeners. We'll be posting
Yes,
that. So you'll have all next week to enter on the post. So it's going to require you to actually follow Crescent Womb, and we'll announce our winner next Friday of the Crescent Womb bed. So James, thank you so much for your time today on a Saturday. I really value it. Um, we'll cut the audio for our podcast and everything here. Just sort of offline. I
awesome.
was just curious hear, a little bit about, I know you said you have a manufacturing facility in Clearwater, and
Hmm.
this is where you're doing fulfillment from, right?
Yes, yeah. So our fulfillment center is different from the manufacturing center, but the fulfillment center is here locally in St. Petersburg.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I wanted to explore, and no pressure, like we have one person watching, so you don't even have to answer now. I was just thinking on it, and I'm like working with Shopify to try to see if we qualify when we've hit 1,000 pre-orders
Hmm.
to use their fulfillment network. But I was like, wait, I don't know what James's space looks like. Perhaps I like pay him, like, because he has people already
Hmm.
doing this work. Actually, have some of my products, and I don't know what your thoughts are on that because this is just brand new for me, like the logistics side of everything.
Absolutely. And I have, I can introduce you to our managers there. Our partners do fulfillment for a couple brands. So,
Okay.
I mean, they're very affordable and effective, and all the storage and warehouse space, the goods are insured and secure, and it kind of gives that layer of separation between you operating the business and growing the business and having to worry about fulfillment logistics and that type of headache. So that's kind of the program we're on now, and I think it's streamlined and not of great expense. You probably end up paying, you definitely save money, um, and once you hit a certain volume, even if you're doing uh like 100 per month, you probably save money working with this fulfillment partner or another one similar to it.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love that intro, whether it be by email or you think it's more
Uh,
appropriate to have a call with first.
yeah.
Because like sort of where we're at is like this first 1,000 orders. Like my goal is to get that by August so we can really fulfill in September for everybody that's placed the pre-orders. For that batch, it actually uh, the pushing of the lumen because it's a very specific technique that we've developed with our engineers. And then
Hmm.
when we have large, we can get a CO2 laser to actually have that being done. But I was like just trying to orchestrate where's this all going to happen, where I'm going to have my packaging delivered to. And I was curious because you've already
Yes.
walked this walk.
Yeah, no, I can connect you with any of those contacts, I'll just send an email and you guys can take it from there. And yeah, love to streamline that process any way I can for sure.
Perfect. Well, I'm super excited. I hope you're like getting teed up and get that NSF grant because it's a big problem that you're solving. And yeah, just you have my cell. Like honestly, the best way to reach me if you have any ideas about how we can collaborate,
Yeah,
moving forward. I want to keep in touch regularly.
no, absolutely. Let's do it. I definitely have some afterthoughts, so I can ping you after this call, and yeah, can't wait to, connect further.
Perfect. That sounds good. Well, go have an awesome rest of your weekend and thank you again
You
for
as
joining
well.
me.
Yeah,
Alrighty,
no,
I'll
the
talk
weather,
to you
it's a
later.
beautiful day here. Bye. Thanks, Lauren.
Done. Bye.